This is what I've been waiting for. Whoa.
Hello, I'm Nigel Marven.
Got you.
I'm in the heart of the world's largest swamp. It's jam-packed with weird and wonderful creatures. And chock-a-block with Caiman.
Yes!
I want to find out as much as I can about this extraordinary place.
I try to get closer to them. Hey!
But some of my encounters have been too close for comfort.
Oh dear, that hurts. Don't do that, please.
King of the swamp is the majestic Jaguar.
What a magnificent animal.
People spend months without seeing so much as a whisker. But I've found a place bursting with the big cats. There are more jaguars here than anywhere else on Earth.
He could be in the boat in a couple of seconds if he wanted to.
So far, my encounters have been from the relative safety of a boat. But now, with just 2 days of my adventure left, I've set myself one final challenge: to get up close to a wild jaguar on foot.
I just saw a glimpse of the tail.
And find out what the future holds for this wonderful animal. Join me on my Jaguar adventure. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I've joined a crack unit of scientists, cowboys and hunting dogs on a mad scramble through the wilds of Brazil. It may look like something out of the A-Team, but it's the only way of coming face to face with the Pantanal's greatest predator, on foot.
Getting up close to a jaguar would be a really fitting finale to the month I've spent in the Pantanal.
We've failed once already, and with just 2 days left, I'm running out of chances. We're heading back to the jaguar kill we found yesterday. We hope the big cats come back overnight so we can pick up its scent. Because of losses like this, some cowboys retaliate with guns, threatening to wipe out the jaguar. Chief Scientist Leandro Silveira wants to resolve this conflict. First, he's got to work out what the cats are doing. To do this, he radio collars jaguars with the help of trained jaguar hounds. It's not long before we find some good signs.
We're going to check a track that he found going that way, so we're going to see how fresh that is to decide where we're going to release the hounds.
The footprints lead into the tangled forest, where there are plenty of hiding places.
Look fresh enough, Leandro?
Yeah, it looks fresh.
The scent's obviously strong. The dogs are getting excited, and the cowboy's mule is getting spooked.
Cowboys are crucial to this work. This mule here is a veteran, 27 jaguar hunts. There's 2 or 3 other teams scouring the land for tracks. But hopefully these fresh ones here will allow us to release the dogs and get on the trail of the jaguar. This could be it.
The dogs move fast. We've got to listen out for their barks and keep up. There's news from one of the other teams.
The guy, the cowboy, he just seen the jaguar cross in front of him. The hounds are after him. We believe it's a female, and she's zigzagging and she's going up trees and down tree all the time. So the dogs are very close, but losing all the time.
Você não fica correndo não.
Okay. There's a report come back. The jaguar's up the tree.
When the cat climbs into the canopy, the dogs lose its scent. Now it's up to us to spot it.
Constantly scanning, they're perfectly camouflaged. They could shoot up a tree like that. They've got amazing claws for climbing. Just hoping to see this spotted cat high in a tree. What do you think, Leandro?
She's not leaving a clear scent line, so the hounds keep losing. They have to find where the scent line goes.
Yeah.
So far, they're just getting pieces of it. So every time you hear a dog bark like that, there is excitement that they found. You hear that sound? They found the scent. They just need to find a clear line.
This is a cunning cat, and she may have given us the slip.
Yeah, let's say it's a...
Strange thought, all these people, and the Jaguar could be watching us. It could be having the last laugh. It could be anywhere here.
So close, yet so far. The Jaguars eluded our army once again.
Thanks, Leandro.
With me, no problem.
Everyone's exhausted, especially the hounds. And for me, it's hugely frustrating. Tomorrow's my last day. We'll need to come up with a new plan. I'm in the Pantanal, the world's biggest wetland, a truly monster swamp. The size of Britain, a bullseye at the centre of South America. Packed full of extraordinary animals, many of which I've been lucky enough to see.
Hello.
Top of the food chain is the Jaguar, king of the Pantanal. My first encounter with one took my breath away. Whew. There it is. Just lying on the bank. She's just nonchalantly looking at us. Straw yellow eyes. And there, my first ever Jaguar. And what a magnificent animal. And the way she just disappeared into the forest there. Judging by the noises coming from the undergrowth, it seemed this one wasn't alone. Wow, it really makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. A real reverberating sound goes right through you. And it sounds to me like there could be two there. It may even be a male. You know, I never saw him. But maybe there's some mating going on with the female. Unbelievably, just a few minutes later, another one. A massive male prowling the beach. Probably attracted by the female too.
Look at that. Jaguars are probably the most water-loving of all of the big cats. They're never found far from it. That's why in the dry season like this, they're concentrated along the riverbank. And he is really loving that, cooling down in the water.
I'd hit the Jaguar jackpot, but I've discovered they face a crisis. The problem is their taste for cattle. Understandably, this upsets the cowboys who live here. My quest for the solution to this crisis has brought me to the southern edge of the monster swamp, to the Caiman Ecological Refuge. This enormous ranch is home to 20,000 cows and a healthy population of jaguars. But they kill around 600 cattle a year. Here at Caiman, the open-minded ranchers hope to make peace with the awe-inspiring predators. My next Jaguar hunt won't be until the morning, so I'm going to spend the rest of the day looking for some of my favourite animals. I've already had one close encounter with a creature that relishes the open grassland cleared by the cattle ranchers. a giant anteater, and her baby.
These pastures studded with termite mounds. A perfect place for anteaters. A big restaurant.
Knowing they have such poor eyesight, I managed to sneak up on them by staying downwind, only moving in when Mum was busy foraging for termites.
These are good conditions. You can feel a really strong wind blowing in our faces. That's taking our scent away.
My tactics worked far better than I could have hoped. Now I'm going to try a similar technique with one of the anteater's close relatives.
I'm stalking a peculiar creature, a favourite of mine, an armadillo. There's 7 kinds in Brazil. And this one is the 6-banded armadillo. And they love these pasture lands. Plenty of cow pats to investigate. They love grubs and other insects.
Armadillos can't open their mouths very wide, so they catch their prey with a long, sticky tongue. They find it using their keen sense of smell, but just like the anteater, their eyesight's pretty poor. This one's struggling to spot me from just a few feet away.
Hello. It's incredible the way they stand up on their back legs like that. They've got this incredible horny protective layer that's underlain by bony plates. So they're pretty tough cookies to crack, but not a problem to the powerful jaws of a jaguar.
In the Brazilian Pantanal, jaguars aren't the only threat to this delightful little creature.
Armadillos have got an incredible adaptation for areas that flood like this. What they actually do, if they're in water, is they inflate their lungs with air, which acts as a buoyancy device. They can float on top of the water if they're flooded out of their burrows. So they're pretty good swimmers.
But until the rain set in, he'll just carry on whizzing around the ranch like a miniature clockwork toy. I've always fancied being a cowboy, working the land at one with the horse. But it's not as easy as it looks. I think I'll stick to wild animals. I'm better at spotting them than riding a horse.
Just saw a bird take off from the ground. I thought so.
It's the nest of a nighthawk. 2 tiny chicks here. They've just hatched. The eggshells are still next to the nest. I saw the bird fly away. It was a big one with a lot of white on it, a Nakunda nighthawk, I think. And these babies must have just hatched. At the end of the bill, you can still see the white egg tooth. They use that to break out of the eggshell. So these are only a few hours old. Mum hasn't gone far, and Dad's around too. The nighthawks are trying to distract me from the helpless chicks by presenting themselves as a more worthwhile target. But I need to get away so the parents can go back to brooding them. Mum doesn't waste time getting back to the nest. She needs to shade her delicate babies from the baking sun. Her plumage provides the perfect camouflage from predators. Closing her black eyes, she melts into the background. There are birds everywhere here, over 650 species. A charming burrowing owl. They come in all shapes and sizes. The largest is the greater rhea, the South American equivalent of the ostrich. These birds love the wide-open grasslands created by the cattle ranchers. Nearly as tall as a man, rheas can see danger coming from a long way off. One of the most colourful characters is the hyacinth macaw, the largest parrot in the world. Once threatened by extinction, these birds now thrive in Cayman, thanks in part to the ranch's cattle. The cows hoover up fallen fruits, digesting the tough husks and leaving piles of nutritious seeds for the hungry parrots. Over the last 20 years, their numbers have doubled to over 5,000 in the Pantanal, over 3/4 of the world population. You can't miss the noisy macaws, but somewhere around here, a rather quieter creature is lurking. Earlier in the trip, I found myself right inside a swarm of bats hunting along the river. Most of them were greater bulldog bats trawling for fish. In amongst them were a few smaller ones, proboscis bats, hawking for insects. And now, on the banks of a small river running through the ranch, I found where they sleep during the day. When you're looking for creatures in forests like this, you've always got to remember to look up, not just down at the ground. There's something up here. In fact, attached to this branch, there's two things. There's armadillo wasps hard at work. They're finishing off the elegant nest from which they gain their name. The workers use a chewed-up woody pulp which sets like paper. They have a sting which packs quite a punch. They'll defend their paper armadillo with their lives. And up above them, there's a charming colony of proboscis bats. They've got wonderful faces and these higgledy-piggledy white lines down their backs. This is a harem. There'll be one male with 3 or 4 females and some young animals, perfectly camouflaged against the trunk, and they'll roost here all day, and once the sun sets they'll sweep out over the river to catch insects. The mums will probably leave their babies hanging at the roost and then come back during the night to give them a drink of milk. That is a wonderful sight. That's lovely. So much life concentrated along the riverbank. In the morning, it will be my last chance to find a jaguar on foot. I know I should be getting some sleep, but I can't resist the chance to meet a mysterious Brazilian swamp monster that only emerges after dark. Peccaries. They may look harmless, but their reputation alone is enough to give you nightmares.
These are the most dangerous animals I've met in the Pantanal. I really don't want them to notice me. Why? Well, because you can see these bulges in their jaws. Those are pouches for razor-sharp canine teeth, and they will slash with those if they're defending themselves.
Their best form of defence is to attack as an angry mob. That snapping noise is a warning. It's made by smacking their powerful tusks together. As long as I sit tight, I should be safe.
This is a truly remarkable sight. One of the few herd animals from the South American forests. The farmer really adores them, and he feeds them corn every night. They come down in single file from the forest just at dusk. And there's about 20 of them here. Sometimes 200 come down from the forest, but there have been reports of a herd of over 2,000 white-lipped peccaries. Just imagine what a sight that would be.
It's a case of safety in numbers. Jaguars love eating peccaries. They've every right to be nervous.
I just moved my foot. Startled them. But they didn't run right away. They're back for the corn. There
This has been a really great show and a lovely memory for me. A rancher who really loves his peccaries.
The wild pigs slip away as quickly as they arrive. But the night is still young. I want to see if there's anything else out there. A new secretive cast of creatures has taken over the swamp. It's not long before I'm held up by a masked highwayman.
Stop! 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 There's some movement down there. Yes, this is a real Pantanal speciality. Very rare over the rest of South America, difficult to see. A crab-eating raccoon. Just at the water's edge, that's where you normally see them. They specialise in catching crabs, as their name suggests, also mollusks, lobsters, other small crustaceans. If you saw their paw prints in the mud, they'd look exactly like a human handprint because they haven't got any fur on their front feet. That's because they use their front feet to feel around in the mud and water for their prey. And he's spotted us now, he's noticed the light. And away he goes, got a well-worn path. That was great though. Thanks, Marcus. Can we go on? Thank you.
Crab-eating raccoons are meant to be rare. But again, I have the luck of the devil. There's another one. A mother and her baby. The cute little bandit will stay with its mum for up to 8 months before heading off to find its own territory. It's incredible how much activity there is after dark. This place just doesn't stop, even when the sun goes down. But as much as I'd love to spend more time with all these wonderful animals, I've really got to get to bed. Earlier on the expedition, I had an encounter that gave me a surprising insight into what's on the Jaguar's menu.
Just up ahead, there's a water buffalo. You can just see the head of another jaguar. Now, whether it's going to hunt or not, I doubt. It doesn't seem to be in hunting mode, but this is a great opportunity to get a close view. I don't believe that. The buffalo got out of the water and the jaguar just turned tail and ran away. So obviously, at least for this jaguar, a buffalo is too big a prey item for it. The jaguar's back. It was spooked by the buffalo, but obviously it likes this vantage point on the river. Maybe it's waiting for a capybara or something. That's one of their favourite prey items in the Pantanal. And it's just watching the river.
Jaguars hang out by rivers because it's where they find their food. These massive carnivores have an appetite to match their size. The rich wildlife of the Pantanal provides the jaguar with a wide choice. I've been lucky enough to see quite a few of the jaguar's favourite meals. Jaguars are reputed to be great fishermen. I found a river so clear I could see the fish they prey on, usually obscured by muddy waters.
These beautiful fish feeding all around me. The local name for them, look at them, this is a real frenzy. The local name for them is Pirapatanga.
And they've got an extraordinary relationship with the brown capuchin monkeys. When they come to feed here in this gallery forest along the riverbanks, the pirapatanga are waiting for any fruits that the monkeys drop into the water. Another delightful treat was an encounter with one of the Pantanal's other main fishermen, a 2-metre-long giant river otter. Using their touch-sensitive whiskers, they can catch fish in the muddiest of waters.
He's so intent on feeding. What I'm going to do is try to get a bit closer, swim towards him.
Hello. Hello there.
Very curious about me. It came to check me out, definitely.
The rivers are a well-stocked jaguar larder. The waters are a magnet for capybara, the largest rodents in the world. They're 2/3 my weight. These water-loving creatures form a key part of the jaguar's diet. But at least the rivers offer them half a chance of survival.
The rodents, they retreat to water when they feel they're in danger.
The rivers are flanked by narrow ribbons of forest. The trees' roots suck thirstily at the year-round water supply. The dense vegetation provides an excellent hideout for big cats and a home for all sorts of enchanting creatures. And there are scaly predators lurking in the shadows.
A boa constrictor, they can grow to be nearly 4 metres long. They've got pretty poor eyesight, they can see moving shapes, but they've also got a super sense. Along the lip, they've got heat receptors, so he can actually detect the body warmth of his prey or predators. So using that, he can actually see a heat image of a Nigel below him. And the tongue's coming out all the time, of course, and that's another important sense for snakes. They're taking scent particles from the air. They've got an organ called Jacobson's organ in the roof of their mouth. That's a chemical analyzer, and he knows there's a primate of some kind below him.
Beyond the trees, grassland stretches for mile after mile. Home to one little fellow who gave me a real run for my money.
Look! Hey! This is a tremendous snake of speciality. Woohoo! This is called a false water cobra. It's an endangered species here on the Pantanal. Oh, look at that. Ah! Got my finger. No venom, of course. And look at the way it's flattening its ribs. Oh dear, that hurts. Don't do that, please. It's flattening its ribs to actually look like a cobra, which is why it gets its common name of false water cobra. This is a most beautiful serpent. Look at the markings on this. And there. Oh, please don't do that.
And the problem now is actually getting him off. And then I'll let him go. There we go. Thank you very much. And again, I'm going to put him go, let him go. And beautiful. That gave me a good bite there.
The plains are dotted with pockets of swampland jammed full of life. Here I caught up with a creature whose scaly skin is no defence against a hungry jaguar. You just have to watch out for the teeth.
Listen to that hiss. And however many times you do it, it's still nerve-wracking. Here we go, cover the eyes, and then their mouths.
The muscles to open their mouths are very weak. A child could hold the mouth closed. And there we go. Thank you. Look at this here, and this is the sort of thing that you only see when you get really close-up views. This is extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this before. The teeth have grown so long from the lower jaw, they're protruding through holes in the snout. What I've got to do now is get off really quickly. Thank you.
A little bit of dented pride, but otherwise no harm done.
Spectacled caiman aren't the only monsters living in these swamps. Snake! Two in one go. I don't know how I'm going to deal. Whoa! I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. I don't believe it's a mating pair of yellow anacondas. Come on, little boy. It's a very, very powerful snakes. And look at that. They can catch the same sort of prey that jaguars can, capybaras, caiman. This boy would strike at prey, wait in ambush, then throw one or two coils around the body of his victim. Then as the victim tries to breathe, doesn't break the bones, gets tighter and tighter, winds up, so eventually the prey dies of asphyxiation, is suffocated to death. They can't unhinge the jaws, that's a myth. They've got amazing elastic tendons and bones inside the skull, and they can work their mouths and jaws around their prey and swallow prey items much larger than the size of their head. So what I'm going to do is put him back, and even though I disrupted their courtship, he'll continue, he'll follow the scent trail of the female, find her again, and then continue mating. So good luck. Go and find her, you beautiful thing. So this so-called swamp has got all a hungry jaguar could ever need, which is what makes the Pantanal's jaguars the biggest in the world. There is one animal that keeps eluding me. The crew, on the other hand, seem to keep tripping over it. Right at the beginning of our adventures, one of the cameramen, Robin, filmed a tapir. Normally, these are nocturnal and shy, but Robin found this one wandering along next to the road, calm as you like. Now, on the last day, with the temperatures soaring, Steve, the other cameraman, spots a second. He stalks it straight to a muddy pool. That peculiar snout is used rather like an elephant's trunk, usually to gather food, but it can act as a snorkel. Tapirs are close relations to horses and rhinos. They're the largest mammals in Brazil, weighing up to 1/3 of a ton. That's a lot of tapir to cool down. This one seems to relish chilling out and ignores Steve completely. Until he gets hungry and wanders off to fill that vast belly.
Steve, how's that?
I missed out again, but the guys seem quite pleased with themselves. The reason I've come in October is because it's the end of the dry season. As the swamp dries out, all sorts of creatures are drawn to the shrinking pools, not just to cool down, but to find refuge and food. Fish that until a few months ago were cruising through a vast inland sea are caught in tiny puddles. It's a perfect opportunity for the Pantanal's fishing fleet. But whatever time of year I came, one creature would always be doing well. My old friend, the capybara. Believe it or not, these are giant rodents. The largest living relative of the hamster. They mate, sleep and hide in the watery plains. The word capybara comes from the local Indian for master of the grasses. As the day cools, they emerge from the swamp to graze the fertile pastures. Floodwaters rise and fall, but the capybaras simply go with the flow. They're so common that other animals like giant cowbirds thrive on the insects they attract. Even if the mobile canteens create a few minor disputes. My final morning. The hounds and scientists are ready. Everyone's determined to find a jaguar on foot. Earlier on this mission, we found a female that let me tail her for the entire afternoon. Given the bad blood between jaguars and man, this was an extraordinary show of trust.
She just spotted something constantly alert. She heard a noise. Head was up. Maybe she's hunting. There's a jabiru stork taking a risk. They're walking right in front of her. He's safe. Off she goes. She really does look hungry. But we can't follow her any longer.
But scientists have found a way to follow jaguars. Around the clock, wherever they are. I'm about to find out how they do it. There's a jaguar somewhere out there. We've spent 3 days trying to track one down with no success. Time to bring out the secret weapon, a radio tracking device. This antenna pinpoints the position of a jaguar already wearing a radio collar. The collar's batteries need replacing. The jaguar we're after is a female. We know roughly where she is. This time, even if she goes up a tree, we should be able to find her. This is it, my last chance for a face-to-face encounter with a jaguar in its jungle home.
Mais ou menos, tá perto, tá longe?
Tá uns 300 metros, mais ou menos.
Vai descendo aí, Thiago.
The animal's right here in this direction. Like 300 meters of this direction. We are very close. We are getting the signal almost without the antenna.
The signal from the radio collar points to the cat being holed up in a small clump of forest. Once everyone's in position, it's time to unleash the hounds. On the trail of our jaguar. This is one that's already got a radio collar, but they need changing every 2 or 3 years. Mariella, the vet's got a signal. It's quite close to us here. There's still no guarantee of success. It's down to the dogs to make it run up a tree. A cornered jaguar is an extremely dangerous proposition. Our every move is critical.
I want to use the radios as the jaguar may be close, so it's amazing whistling language they're using to communicate with each other, find out where the dogs are, where the rest of the trackers are.
Suddenly, everyone heads for one spot.
I just saw a glimpse of the tail. It really gets you there. Being so close to
Just such a magnificent animal. Got such wonderful fur. You can see the rosettes with the spots in the middle. And she looks in such great condition.
I'm relieved to see her looking so calm. She must feel safe up there. But the Jaguar's got one last surprise in store.
Leandra and the team have decided not to dart this one. It's too much of a risk. You can see she's got a big distended tummy there, so she's either just given birth or is about to give birth. And to give a pregnant female anaesthetic would just be too risky. And obviously in all these conservation projects, the welfare of the animal is paramount.
We pack up the tranquilizer and the catching net. But in a way, this is better than I could have hoped for. Her pregnancy's a clear sign that these Jaguars have a future.
What's the history of this female, Leandra?
Well, this female was caught 2 years and 2 months ago. She's our heaviest female. She's a record for a female. She was 86 kilos. Pretty big size for a female.
This is nearly as much as me.
Yeah, she's the heaviest female we've ever seen.
That big tummy, is she heavily pregnant?
Yes, we believe that will go no longer than a week she'll be delivering.
Yeah.
That's very close.
So that's why you can't risk darting her.
It's not worthwhile. We prefer to change her color later on.
It's crucial to get information about Jaguars from the radio collars. How does that help their conservation?
Being able to know where they're moving. For example, this female, this is her, we believe it's her 4th litter. We just, through the radio telemetry, we have learned how many times she has given birth. We're keeping track of her offsprings, so we can write all her life history in the range here.
And the more information you have, the easier it is to address the problem, the conflict between the ranchers and the Jaguar.
So a cat like this, we're learning how often does she prey cattle, what's her real impact on cattle, especially now that soon she's going to have 2 cubs to feed.
And we're going to go soon. As soon as we go, she'll come down the tree and just carry on as normal.
Yes.
Good luck. Good luck, Mum.
I'm elated. Mission accomplished. Projects like this are revealing the Jaguar's hidden story. Its future stands on a knife edge. But in just 4 weeks, we've seen 7 Jaguars, including an expectant mum and a pair of cubs. With help from people like Leandro, I'm optimistic about the Jaguar's future. This is it, journey's end. It's been quite an adventure, but now it's time to go home, knowing the Jaguar's got a chance in this incredible monster swamp.
What a month it's been. Brazil's Pantanal has lived up to all expectations. We came at the end of the dry season just the right time. There's been swamp creatures, swamp monsters concentrated around the water, and I've achieved a lifelong ambition to meet Jaguar in the wild.